Welcome, gents. The quietest minds often echo the loudest truths. Have you ever felt like people just don't get you, like they keep trying to figure you out, label you, box you in, and every time they miss the point entirely? That's not because there's something wrong with you, it's because you don't fit into the usual categories. You're not driven by approval, you're not here to perform. You think deeply, feel deeply, and live life by your own code. That's the mark of a Sigma. The psyche of a Sigma is difficult to understand, not because it's broken or complicated, but because it's built differently. Most people grow by adapting to the crowd. Sigmas grow by pulling away from it. While others seek attention, Sigmas seek clarity. While others chase status, Sigmas chase purpose. If you're the kind of woman who listens more than she speaks, who observes rather than interrupts, who walks away instead of engaging in nonsense, you might be a Sigma. You don't show off your strength because you don't need to. You don't scream your worth because you know it's not up for debate. And if people have called you cold, distant, or too much in your head, take that as confirmation. You don't belong in shallow waters. Your depth isn't a flaw, it's your edge. It's what keeps you grounded in a world that's constantly spinning in circles. So no, they may never fully understand you, but that's okay, because you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to stand out. Let's get into it, gents. Number one, they don't need to be liked, they need to be real. Sigma males don't wake up wondering how to win approval. That's not their wiring. They don't reshape themselves to fit in, and they don't dilute their thoughts just to keep the peace. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. That alone puts them at odds with the world. Because most people are performing. Most water down their truth to be palatable, to be accepted, to avoid conflict. Sigma males, they'd rather be disliked than fake. They're not here to stroke egos or tiptoe around fragile feelings. If the truth makes the room uncomfortable, so be it. Not because they're rude or trying to be edgy, but because realness matters more than popularity. Their words come stripped of fluff, no emotional bribery, no people-pleasing glaze, just clean, unfiltered honesty. And in a culture built on masks and filters, that kind of presence can feel like a punch in the face. But here's what makes it different. A Sigma doesn't speak to attack. They speak to be clear. They don't aim to impress. They aim to stay true. And they've made peace with the cost of that, because being misunderstood is better than being fake. Some will call them too intense, others will label them cold or arrogant, but those who get it, those who've outgrown the politics of approval, will recognize it for what it really is, integrity. If you're a Sigma, this isn't a weakness, this is your quiet superpower. You don't shapeshift for acceptance, you don't self-censor just to stay liked. And while that may shrink your circle, it strengthens your truth. Because in a world obsessed with likes, you're one of the few still committed to being real. And that's why you'll always stand out, even if you stand alone. Number two, they're ruthless with their own bullshit asterisk. One of the rawest, most misunderstood traits of a Sigma male is this. He doesn't let himself get away with anything. While most people lie to themselves to feel better, he digs deeper. While others sugarcoat their flaws or blame the world, he turns the spotlight inward and asks, "Where am I full of it?" And he doesn't flinch when the answer hurts. Sigma males are brutally honest. Not just with others, but especially with themselves. That's what makes them so rare. They've trained their minds to detect self-deception like a radar. When ego tries to speak up, they interrogate it. When pride whispers excuses, they shut it down. They're not interested in being comfortable. They're interested in being clear. And that's what most people can't handle, because this kind of self-discipline is uncomfortable. It means questioning your beliefs, admitting your weaknesses, owning your mistakes without needing a pat on the back for doing it. It means not waiting for life to humble you, because you're already humbling yourself every damn day. This is what gives the Sigma his edge. He doesn't have to perform perfection. He builds it from the inside out by constantly cleaning up the mental clutter. He refines himself like a blade, not because he wants to impress others, but because he refuses to be a slave to his own illusions. It's a silent daily war with no audience, no applause, and no finish line. And that's why people don't understand it. They only see the calm, the focus, the precision. What they don't see is the inner fire, the relentless internal audit that never stops. If you're a Sigma, stay ruthless. Keep dissecting the noise in your head. Keep calling out your own crap, because that's not self-hate. That's self-respect on a level most can't even imagine. Number 3, Sigma male, a mirror you might not want to look into. Being around a Sigma male is like standing in front of a mirror you didn't ask for, not the kind that flatters you, but the kind that shows you what you're avoiding. He's calm, observant, and deeply self-possessed, and that alone can make people uncomfortable. Why? Because most of us are used to being around people who also need validation, who also want to be liked. The Sigma doesn't care about any of that, and that shakes something loose inside others. His presence is a quiet challenge. He won't stroke your ego. He won't jump in to fill awkward silences. And he definitely won't pretend to be impressed by surface-level behavior. What he does instead is reflect everything you might be running from. Your constant need for approval, your fear of not being accepted, your shaky sense of identity. People end up projecting all kinds of things onto him, thinking he's arrogant, cold, or judgmental, but the truth is, he's not judging anyone, he just isn't playing the same game, and that's hard to handle if you've built your whole sense of self around being liked. He's not mysterious on purpose, he just doesn't overshare, he doesn't perform, he's not hiding, he's filtering. He chooses what to give and when to give it. And that makes people either deeply curious or deeply defensive. A Sigma male won't expose you directly, but being around him might reveal things about you that you weren't ready to see. That's why people rarely see him clearly, because to truly understand a Sigma, you'd have to drop the mask. And most aren't ready for that. And yet that's his quiet gift. He doesn't just walk alone. He makes you question why you're afraid to. Number 4, they treat emotions like data, not directions. Here's what most people completely miss about Sigma males. They do feel deeply, but you'd never know it just by looking. Why? Because they don't let emotions take the wheel. They treat them like data, not directions. When a Sigma feels something heavy, anger, sadness, disappointment, he doesn't act on it right away. He hits pause. He breaks it down. Why am I feeling this? Is this emotion telling me the truth or just reacting to something temporary? That's the kind of internal audit he does before even thinking about how to respond. This makes people uncomfortable. They expect emotions to be loud, to spill out, to show up in facial expressions or tone of voice. But a Sigma male can be going through hell internally and still hold a calm, composed face. Not because he's suppressing it, but because he's processing it strategically. It's not that he's cold, he's calculating. He doesn't trust emotions to run the show, because he knows they lie. And while others rush to react, he chooses to reflect. Where most people drown in the emotion of the moment, he decodes it. He turns emotional noise into clear insight. That kind of control throws people off. Some label him as emotionally distant, too logical or disconnected. But that's projection. What they're really seeing is someone who won't let temporary feelings ruin permanent outcomes. So if this is you, you're not emotionally shut off. You're emotionally sharp. You feel, but you don't flinch. And that's rare. In a world where being loud about emotions is praised, you're the quiet storm, steady, grounded, and precise. You don't let your emotions drive the car. You let them ride shotgun while you keep both hands on the wheel. And that makes all the difference. Number 5, they've built an inner world where outsiders are irrelevant. Most people are constantly checking for feedback. They need someone to agree, to validate, to approve before they feel confident moving forward. But Sigma females, they don't operate like that. They've built something rare. An inner world so strong, so self-sustaining that the noise of the outside world barely makes a dent. See, Sigmas don't just enjoy solitude, they thrive in it. They use that time alone to think, to observe, to sharpen their instincts. Over time, their inner world becomes so rich, so deeply layered, that they no longer need outside approval to know they're on the right path. That doesn't mean they don't feel. It just means their emotions and decisions aren't up for public voting. While others need likes, applause, or someone to say, "You're doing great." Sigmas already know they are. Or if they're not, they're fixing it in silence. They don't brag, they build. Quietly, steadily, on their own terms. This is what makes them hard to read. People get frustrated trying to figure them out, not realizing that the Sigma isn't hiding. They've simply detached from the world most people are addicted to. They've created a mental space where opinions don't rule, where comparison doesn't exist, and where peace is worth more than popularity. That's why they seem so unaffected, so unbothered. It's not arrogance, and it's discipline. They've trained themselves not to need what others constantly chase. And because they don't rely on the crowd, they can't be controlled by it either. If this sounds like you, here's your reminder. Your world isn't too quiet. It's just too deep for the average mind to grasp. You don't need to explain your peace to people addicted to noise. Keep building. Keep protecting that sacred space inside you. Because that world you've created, that's your power, and it's untouchable. Number 6. They are motivated by deep internal laws you'll never see. Most people chase things they can measure, a bigger paycheck, more followers, a louder title. That's what drives them. Clear, visible rewards. But Sigma males, they're playing a completely different game, one that doesn't even exist on most people's radars. What drives a Sigma male isn't status, praise, or recognition. He couldn't care less about climbing someone else's ladder. Instead, he's pulled forward by a quiet set of inner laws, a personal code he lives by even if he never talks about it. He might not even be able to fully explain it. It's not written down, it's not a checklist, it's instinct, sharpened by experience, solitude, and ruthless self-awareness. This is why people can't predict him. They assume he'll take the job, the spotlight, or the logical choice. But he doesn't move for approval. He moves for alignment. Something either clicks with his inner compass or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, he'll walk away without flinching, even if it looks like a perfect opportunity from the outside. That's what makes Sigma males so hard to read and so hard to control. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't want what you think he wants. You can't lure him with praise or pressure him with shame. His motivation comes from within, not from a scoreboard or social expectation. And here's the truth, that kind of inner direction makes people uncomfortable. It's easier to understand someone who's chasing money or validation. But a man who's guided by something invisible, something you can't label or sway, that's intimidating. If you're a Sigma male, don't water yourself down to make sense to others. You're not built for their systems. You're built to build your own. And that quiet code you follow, that's not weakness. That's your edge. Keep following it, even if no one else can see the map. Number 7. Sigma males are not trying to impress you. That's the point. Let's get one thing straight. A Sigma male doesn't care if you're impressed. He's not here to entertain you, charm you, or earn your approval. That's what makes him so different and so hard to understand. Most people are raised to perform. Smile here, say the right thing there, dress for the occasion, and make sure everyone likes you by the end of the night. But Sigma males, they walked out of that script a long time ago. They don't need to be the center of attention. In fact, they'd rather not be seen at all unless there's a real reason for it. There's no fake persona, no exaggerated swagger, no fishing for compliments. What you get is raw, stripped-down selfie, no mask, no fluff. And in a world where most people are playing roles just to be accepted, that kind of realness can feel unsettling. The Sigma male doesn't play social games because he's not chasing social rewards. He's not trying to be liked. He's trying to be real. That's why he doesn't change his tone to fit a crowd or soften his thoughts to make others comfortable. If his presence makes people uneasy, so be it. He's not going to shrink to make others feel bigger. And here's the truth. People often confuse that self-containment with arrogance. But it's not. It's clarity. He knows who he is, and he's not asking you to clap for it. That quiet confidence, it's not a performance. It's a result of knowing he doesn't need the crowd. So if you're watching this and recognizing that part of yourself, embrace it. You're not cold and you're not antisocial. You're just not wired to beg for approval. In a world that rewards noise, your silence is a statement. And trust me, that's what makes you unforgettable. Number 8, they experience freedom and isolation as the same thing. For most people, being alone feels like a sentence, something to escape or fix. But for Sigma males, solitude isn't something they suffer through. It's something they choose. Not because they hate people, but because they crave something deeper than noise, surface-level talk, or empty company. To a Sigma male, freedom and isolation are two sides of the same coin. He knows that real freedom, the kind where your mind is clear, your decisions are your own, and your thoughts aren't being shaped by everyone else's expectations, comes at a cost. That cost is often being misunderstood, left out, alone. But he's not flinching. He's not begging for a seat at the table, because while others are out chasing validation, he's using the silence to sharpen his perspective. He's observing patterns, questioning motives, studying himself and the world around him in ways that only solitude allows. That inner clarity, it doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being alone long enough to hear your own mind without interference. And here's what most don't get. His distance isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. He's not trying to be unreachable. He's just not willing to water himself down to be more digestible. So he walks alone, not out of pride, but out of principle. Yes, the path can be quiet, sometimes cold. But that clarity he gains, that ability to see through the fog while others are still looking for a flashlight, that's what sets him apart. And once you taste that kind of mental freedom, you don't go back. You'd rather walk alone with vision than be surrounded by noise with none. So if you're that Sigma, keep walking. You're not lost. You're just walking in a direction most people aren't ready for. And the quiet you've embraced, that's not isolation, that's power. Number 9. Sigma males don't just withhold information, they weaponize silence. When a Sigma male goes quiet, it's not because he has nothing to say, it's because he's watching everything. That silence, it's not empty, it's loaded. Most people talk to fill the air, to control the mood, or to prove something. Sigma males don't need that. They're not here to entertain, overshare, or smooth over awkward moments. If they're quiet, it's for a reason. And that reason is usually deeper than you think. Silence for a Sigma is a tool. It exposes people, it makes them uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, their masks start to slip. People reveal their insecurities, intentions, and desperation to be heard, all while the Sigma is sitting back, collecting data in stillness. His silence also creates boundaries. It says, you don't get access just because you're curious. Most people mistake this for coldness, but it's not. It's control. In a world where everyone's oversharing for attention, the Sigma male guards his thoughts like gold. Not because he's hiding, but because he's selective, calculated. Sometimes his silence is his loudest move. It can challenge someone without saying a word. It can expose someone's dishonesty simply by not reacting. And the beauty of it is, you won't see it coming. You'll just feel uneasy, like you've been stripped bare in front of someone who said nothing at all. That's the power of a Sigma's silence. It doesn't beg, convince, or explain. It just exists and lets the room reveal itself. So if you're a Sigma male, understand this. Your silence isn't weakness, it's precision. It's the ability to command a room without raising your voice. And in a world addicted to noise, that makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Keep that silence sharp. Let it speak for you, because sometimes the loudest truths are the ones you never say out loud. Number 10. Sigma males don't just observe, they read. The vibe, the tone, the subtle shifts in energy, nothing slips past them. But here's what makes them different. Even when the room is full of admiration, even when people want them to stay, they'll still walk out if something feels off. It's not arrogance, it's not some mysterious act, it's alignment. Most people stay where they're liked. They chase comfort, praise, familiarity. But a Sigma male doesn't stay just because the spotlight's on him or because the room wants him. If the energy clashes with his values, if the unspoken feels fake, needy, or manipulative, he's gone. No big speech, no drama, just a quiet, decisive exit. And yes, it baffles people. Why would you leave now? But everyone likes you. You finally made it here. None of that matters to a Sigma, because he's not trying to fit, he's trying to feel right. And if his gut says this isn't it, he listens. You see, Sigma males don't measure success by how many hands they shake or how many people smile at them. Their compass points inward. They live by inner laws, principles that aren't loud, but they're unshakable. And when the world pulls them toward comfort, ego boosts, or empty praise, those laws pull them back. This ability to walk away, even from what looks good on the outside, is what sets them apart. It's not detachment, it's discipline. They don't need to be where they're celebrated if it costs them authenticity. They'd rather be alone than applauded for something they're not. So if you're the kind of man who leaves rooms others fight to enter, don't second guess that instinct. That's your signal. That's your strength. The ability to say, this isn't for me, even when it looks perfect, is what keeps your soul clean. And in a world begging for attention, that is power. Number 11, they hide strength in the opposite of what you expect. The world has a loud definition of strength. It tells you power is in dominance, influence comes from visibility, and confidence must be performed. But Sigma males flip that entire script. and do it without ever raising their voice. They don't prove they're strong by overpowering. They prove it by holding back, by choosing silence when others shout, by staying still when others need to be seen. That's not weakness, that's mastery. They know that real power isn't about showing off, it's about not needing to. You won't catch a Sigma male flexing or fishing for praise. He doesn't drop his achievements into casual conversation or try to steal the room. In fact, he's often the one you overlook, until you realize he's the one quietly running things behind the scenes. While others burn energy trying to be seen, he conserves it by being strategic, calculated, unmoved, and that's what rattles people. Because his power isn't obvious, it's hidden in restraint. His confidence isn't loud. It's the calm kind, the kind that doesn't need validation to exist. He doesn't need to be the center of attention to have influence. In fact, he'd rather lead by absence than presence, letting the vacuum of his silence speak louder than any speech ever could. He walks into a room with the quiet assurance of someone who's already won a war you didn't even know he was fighting. And he doesn't need to convince you of anything, because he's not playing that game. If this is you, understand this. Your strength isn't invisible. It's just not what they're used to. You don't need to explain your calm, your silence, your restraint. That's your edge. So keep hiding your power in plain sight. Let the noise crave attention. You've already earned your peace, and that is the real win. In final words, he's not hiding. He's just protecting the parts of himself no one ever took the time to understand. The mind of a Sigma male isn't hard to understand because it's broken or confusing. It's hard to understand because it doesn't play by the rules everyone else follows. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't broadcast his feelings. And he doesn't seek out approval to feel whole. That alone separates him from the crowd. Most people need to be seen to feel real. Sigma males are already real, whether you see them or not. If you're a Sigma male, you've probably been misunderstood your entire life. Too quiet, too intense, too independent. But what people don't realize is that this isn't a phase, it's who you are. And there's power in that. Power in not needing noise to feel valuable. Power in walking alone without feeling lost. Power in choosing depth when the world rewards distraction. Your silence holds more meaning than most people's speeches. Your mind is a fortress and not a maze. You think, you observe, you break patterns, and you don't flinch at solitude. That isn't something to change, that's something to own. So stop waiting to be understood. Most won't get it, and that's okay. You weren't designed to blend in. You were made to lead yourself, think for yourself, and live by your own compass. Be rare, be clear, be unapologetically you. That's what makes you a Sigma, and that's what makes you unstoppable. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.